We are live at the Loft. I'm Terry Knight.
I'm Kelly Guest.
And Linda Saggau.
Yes.
And one of the things, I mean, you are fascinating, and this is incredible. Kelly and I were sitting here talking, especially Kelly, talking about, you know, we're sort of feeling a little tranced, and I'm kind of feeling like that as well.
Hypnotic, yeah.
But now there's a lot of people, too, that are going to go, oh, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who are you
really? Are you high def?
What are you? Yes. Yeah. What are you actually channeling?
Yeah.
And in fact, I had experiences before where I met somebody that was lying.
Yeah.
But and I've since come a little bit more closer to it. But what do you say to those people that say you're a Fruit Loop? Mm-hmm. You know that.
Oh, and you know what? I just celebrate that. Because, you know, I very well could be. Because your opinion, because your opinion is so valid. Every opinion is valid. I'm not here to prove you right and me, or prove you wrong and me right. I don't care. And what I faced as a human being is that I was having all these interesting energetic experiences, and I've talked to a lot of other people who are having other interesting experiences, and we're living in a society where we are not granted healthy permission to talk about them. And what I figured out was that this material for me was really, really helpful. And it allowed me to go from a pretty ego-driven, pretty unhappy and miserable human being to, within about a year, to a pretty authentically happy human being. And I thought, well, I can share this and risk looking like a Fruit Loop, or I can not share it and actually become one. And that's my choice. And if you want to say, you know, that's fruity, that's loopy, then that's perfect. Isn't that beautiful that your soul is telling you that? But just listen to it and make sure it's coming from your soul, not your ego. Is it coming from love or is it coming from fear? Because a lot of people dismiss what they fear. And that's just that big energy body of the ego. That every time we have a fearful interaction or something that makes us uncomfortable, we add another brick of fear. You know, it's like a wall. But this heart that we have is that expansive energy field of love, and it allows us to step into experimentation. So I just figured this. Here's what I just invite you all to consider. Air, we can't see it, but oh my goodness, it is very real, and you'll learn that if you're up at 10,000 feet. Boy, you really, wow, I really need air, even though I can't see it. Just because we can't see something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or that it isn't essential to the human experience. And I gave myself permission to reach into something else and to say, wow, this is like air. Just because I can't see it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. In fact, it does exist. I have experienced this myself and tried to manifest it in a way that other people could absorb and understand and benefit from. But for me, it's essential to life, just like air.
And that's something that I think is really interesting and different for this, what you've created here with the Toolkit for Happiness, that how there is no shortage of lofty information and metaphysical writing and things for people who seek. But they never really tell you exactly, or there's not really much of a game plan. So I think it's fascinating that you were able to organize the information that way. Kind of from a different angle, since you've been on this journey, both personally and in general, what do you think about children? What do you hope that they can start out with now that you are armed with this? Versus, what do you want to take to them?
That they need to love themselves well so they can love others well. We are trained to, at some point, really judge ourselves really harshly, and I see it beginning with children at a pretty young age. If they, don't do well on a pop quiz, or if they're not in a particular group, or whatever it is, and they come in perfect. We come in with the same soul's knowing, and what I think the opportunity is to help them understand that forgetting is natural, but they don't have to forget to the extent that their parents forgot. Mm-hmm. So never really, in fact, Michael has a book that they want to channel. They outlined it. It's called The Little Boat. And what they described was the child is like this little beautiful, perfect little wooden boat, like a vessel. here to go through life's adventures and sail. But those adventures are going to be so much more joyful and less loaded with fear if the silver thread that anchors that little vessel to the soul is never forgotten and always tethered. You're always tied to that. You can still stretch, you can go, you can navigate, you can do whatever you want to do, but never forget that there's a silver thread to the soul, and that the heart is the channel for the soul. So how much we access the wisdom of our soul has very much to do with how much we open our hearts first to ourselves, love yourself well, and then to the universe. Because there's a lot of spiritual people out there that I think feel like victims or martyrs, or they're very, very unhappy even though they're spiritual. And it's because I have observed that they open their hearts to the world, but they don't locate and open their hearts to themselves. So they're never getting that love and appreciation that they really want. So we need to marry spirituality and happiness, because if you're spiritual and you're not happy, what's the point? So our children need to understand that, and I think we can mitigate some of this forgetting and have them step into their souls at an earlier age and never forget that wisdom, and always bring it with them as they go into their little adventures, so their little boat doesn't get crushed. So they have that confidence, they have that soul with them, it's never gone.
An entirely different type of parenting.
Yes.
I would say. Like, really different.
Every day when I drop my son at school, I'll say something to the effect of, hey Jack, remember to be kind to yourself today, and remember to be kind to others, okay? Or love yourself well, so you can love others well. Because if we don't love ourselves well, we're operating from a position of deficit, and no one else can fill it, but we blame it on people. If you would just do what I want you to do, if you would just be more intimate, if you would just send me a damn card every once in a while, make me dinner, whatever it is, whatever that tape is. My sense is, and what I've learned by teaching this with people is, there's something that we're not giving ourselves. And then you become like this human chalice, and you fill yourself up with love from the inside out, and then you begin to overflow, and suddenly there's enough for everybody. And your excess, it's like a flood, and it just begins to flood over. And you can see when someone has created that inner joy, that inner love, that inner happiness, they have a radiance that other people can't. There's no makeup artist that can, bring it. There is a radiance that comes from the inside, and their joy is just radiating.
What's kind of interesting is you're using some metaphors that are in the Bible. The cup runneth over, the silver thread. And
I've never read the Bible.
And you know what? That's why it's really even more fascinating. Because the silver thread in the Bible is your connection to God. And ere the silver thread breaks, your soul is out. And that's
nice to know. I'm not even familiar with that concept.
That's very interesting.
So we can't snip the connection, and we got to tell kids that the connection exists because they know it already. It was very cute one day. I was driving Jack to camp last summer. He said, "Mom, does God exist?" He's in the back, in his little car seat. He's 6. And I said, well, Jack, there is like source energy, and source created everything. And, the difference in our society is what you call that energy. Do you label it God? Do you label it, what do you do? And he said, oh, Mom, shh. He said, now I remember. He said, we were energy first, and then we chose to come into bodies. And we just continued driving.
Okay, is this a statement you've made to him in the past?
No, no. They know. So my point is that they know. So let's just foster that continuance, that knowing, and the exploration of that knowing versus the shutting down.
That's fantastic. That's amazing. Wow. Okay. Live at the Loft. We'll be back in just a moment.